forum is being put on by the Chamber of Commerce, the Town of Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce, and they've asked us to present to you because we do this, and we do it pretty well, I think. So I do encourage you, if you have any questions about the league, please, we are wearing our badges. Feel free to talk to any of us, and we'd be happy to help you tonight as well. We ask if you have cell phones, please turn them off, or at least put them on vibrate, so we don't have any interruptions once the forum begins. The first order of business tonight, first I will introduce Joe Duffy, your finance director, and he's going to make a presentation about the home rule. And as soon as his presentation is complete, I'm turning the forum over to this little gal behind me, Sandra Goodwin, who is your moderator. Sandra has been a very long-time league member, and she's a state member as well, and she's a professional moderator. She does an excellent job. Your questions, if you should find more as your candidates speak, may trigger more questions. Feel free to write them out. We have more to pass out. Raise your hands. We'll collect them and take them to the question room. They are being rewritten in larger form, so it's easier for our moderator. Okay, so let our night begin. Your finance director, Joe Duffy.
Thank you. Well, in order to save a little time, we're not going to give a detailed home rule presentation this evening. Jamie and I, we want to talk a little, Jamie Lewis, our city clerk, and I just want to talk to you a little bit about where we can get the information on home rule. I think I passed out a brochure to almost all of you. If not, I'll leave some on the very back table. And this is just part of some of the information that we've also put together. We've done the mailing to all the citizens. We've done the publicity pamphlet that you should have already seen. We've also put a presentation together on our website, and it's a video presentation with a narrative. That's also available on Channel 13, and they're running it right before every council meeting, probably right after, and I think even before the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. So you have plenty of opportunities to see it. And I guess that's really about it on my side tonight.
Did everybody get the mailing, the little flyer?
Has everybody gotten the little flyer, the mailing?
And the voter pamphlet, the pamphlet just went out to registered voters. The flyer went out to everybody in the 86323 zip code, even to the county, because that was the most cost-effective way to do it. But if you didn't get a voter pamphlet for some reason, we do have extras at Town Hall, and it is on the website, chinoaz.net. And your ballots should be in the mail next week. If you don't get your ballot by the middle of the following week, call Yavapai County Voter Registration, and they'll help you figure out where it went. And you can always get a replacement, too, at Town Hall. Anything else? And
as always, if you have any specific questions, be sure to give either of us a call. We're pretty well versed in home rule after all these years. So with that, we'll turn it back over.
Thank you.
Well, good evening. I feel like I know all of you personally. We've been here, and it's really nice to know how much you respect and care about the league, because we feel the same way about you all, because you're interested in your government and you care about voting, and that really turns us old people on. Before we begin, let me go over the format for the evening that the candidates have already agreed to. There will be, each candidate will have 1 minute for an opening statement, 1 minute to respond to each question, and 1 minute a closing statement. And I'll share with you a joke that, if you've been here before, you've heard my jokes. But nevertheless, when you talk about a 1 minute this and a 1 minute that, Ken Bennett, the first time when he was a young man and he was at one of our candidates' forums, he said, "Oh, I can't answer this question in a minute." And at the end of the evening, he said, "You know what I found out? Those things that I really knew what I was talking about, I could easily do in 1 minute. The other things took longer." So that's our format. It will be in varying rotation, so you're not always having the first person start first and finish last. And each candidate has a matrix telling them when is their turn. The complication this evening, however, will be that we only have one mic. And I really feel sorry for the candidates. They're going to have to shovel that mic back and forth between them all night long. So give them a break. Our timekeeper for this evening is Pat O'Hara. And besides being a water authority and respected person in the county, he's also the husband of our president. So you can see where, and my husband, also a member of the league, is in the back room with your questions. So you can see where we, although we're the League of Women Voters, we welcome men. Pat has a light box up here next to him. When the candidate begins speaking, the green light will go on. 45 seconds later, a yellow light will go on. And when it's time for the candidate to stop talking, a red light will go on. And Pat's really a nice guy, but if you keep on going past your 1 minute, Pat will ding you. Okay? One final word. We ask that you withhold any demonstration of support or opposition to a response until you go to the ballot box. That's when your voice is most firmly heard. So we ask that you just withhold any demonstrations. We have 4 candidates vying for 4 council seats, and they are seated in alphabetical order: Linda Hatch, Pat McGee, Carrie Mendoza, and Don Wozik. Now, smile at me. Is that good or bad?
I recognize.
What, please? Oh, yeah. 4 candidates vying for 3 seats. Thank you. Opening statements will begin with Ms. Hatch, and after that proceed in a rotating order. Closing statements will be the reverse of that. So you all have your matrix, and we can begin. The opening statements will begin with Ms. Hatch.
Good evening, and I want to thank all of you for coming tonight. It's really important in our democratic government to have all of you here, and I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce and the League of Women Voters for co-sponsoring this. I retired to Chino Valley in 2005. I was appointed to the Chino Valley Board of Adjustment before running for town council. I was also a member of the Chino Valley School District Facilities Committee and was one of the founding board members of the Chino Valley Foundation for Seniors. I currently serve on the Council Finance Committee. I'm chair of the Appointments Committee and a member of the Yavapai Regional Medical Center Board, which determines the members of the Board of Trustees. In my current term as council member, I was instrumental in getting flood control for the town, and I also saw fruition of the solar field installed in our sewer plant to help reduce our carbon footprint and help save money. You can review my background and training on the town website. Thank you very much for coming.
Good evening. I'm Corey Mendoza. Thank you all for being concerned about the future of our town. You all know, as citizens of Chino Valley, you will decide which of us candidates are capable of making the best decisions and choices for our town future. My wife and I have lived here for over 25 years. The last 17 years, we've owned and operated our own business. Our daughter, son-in-law, and granddaughter live here also. This is our home. I feel very lucky that I'm in a position to run for town council. I've been on the receiving end of what Chino Valley has had to offer. I feel a responsibility to do what I can now. Being I live and operate a business here, I have an advantage of seeing things from both sides of the fence. I believe I'm the only local business owner running. As the evening goes on, you'll need to decide which of us are willing, knowledgeable enough to do what is necessary to create a healthy balance of commerce and a residential lifestyle that works for all of us. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Pat McKee. Thank you to the Chamber and the League of Women Voters. For several years before moving to Chino Valley, my husband and I researched the Tri-Cities areas and found Chino Valley to be the diamond in the rough that fit well with our wants, needs, and lifestyle. A town with all the amenities needed for daily living, smaller than Prescott, but vibrant, with its friendly country atmosphere. We all know over the past few years the downturn in the economy has put many towns and cities in dire financial straits. Only so much cutting back can be done, and still maintain the quality of services our town people want, need, and deserve. I became acutely aware of this. I began attending council meetings and committee meetings and decided to become involved on a deeper level than just attending meetings, so I began talking with the town administrators to learn more. The economy is growing again. To maintain this growth, we need to encourage new retail business and sustainable residential growth. Thank you.
Well, good evening, and again, thank you to the League and to the Chamber for sponsoring this event tonight. This is your opportunity to meet all the candidates face-to-face and to hopefully get a chance to know us better than you did from the article that was in the newspaper recently. We're actually facing a very critical period in the near future, the next couple of years. Obviously, finances are a big problem in this town, as they are in a lot of places, a lot of municipalities, as well as the federal government. And I'm just hoping that you will give me an opportunity to go and represent you on the town council and do what we can to bring in more revenue, increase revenue, and reduce spending so that we can balance the budget over the next few years. Thank you.
I'm going to ask you something, if you would please. I notice that Sandra did not follow alphabetically as you're seated, and yet your guidance is alphabetical. So please follow your guidance, okay? And you're doing just fine. But I have you alphabetically incorrect. Okay, you got that straight? You got it? Okay, let's go, Pat.
So you're first this time.
Yeah, I get the first question. Yeah.
We're waiting for a question.
I haven't. What's the question?
Yeah, you got a question. I can very easily rattle. You want a question? Okay. Would you like to have had it alphabetically correct? All right.
Whatever.
Question number 1 regarding future growth. This is a question regarding future growth. What are your thoughts on town growth?
I think growth is necessary for the town to be a viable entity in the coming years for our children and our children's children. It has to be done in a way that it grows. It has to be done orderly and following the rules of the town.
Read the question one more time, please.
What are your thoughts on town growth?
I think I'm gonna start, because I think this question is gonna come back in a minute. Just really isn't time to give a full outline of my idea for the town. So I'm gonna start with the base that we need in this town, in my opinion, is some sort of manufacturing industry, something a little larger than just your retail businesses. And if we need to do what we can to attract a large employer type base, and once we get this base business attracted to the town, then the revenue comes into Chino. And once the revenue comes into town, then it will go down to the secondary businesses, which are the services, the restaurants, the dry cleaners, etc. Getting the red light, so we'll finish this up later.
My feeling on growth is that it's a necessary evil, whether we like it or not. We need additional industry and businesses, particularly in town, to help us pay our bills. And right now we have a lot of citizens from this area, from this town, going to Prescott and Prescott Valley and spending their money And all those towns are getting all the benefit, and we're getting stuck with all the bills. So yes, we need growth. We need it at a slow and intelligent rate, but we need to also be very friendly in trying to acquire new businesses in town.
Again, I apologize for the only one mic, but that's the way it is.
By the way, folks, this is the second of 45 seconds. This is the red light over here. I believe Pat quit early because this didn't want to record. He quit early because of the yellow light. You got the item.
There's a light on, it's not on. Okay. You know, growth needs to be planned and it needs to be sustainable. And by that I mean that what it needs to support itself, and the community needs to be able to support it. It needs to be planned, both in terms of living. You need more than one big contractor. The current thought when I go to the EDC meetings is that you also need to attract, and the current trend in northern Arizona and where a lot of places are going, because once you attract a big business, as soon as your deal is up, they may go somewhere else, is that you need to attract independent entrepreneurs as well, a number of small businesses that will sustain them. They can work in coffee shops and other businesses, and they can quickly shift gears, and in that way you'll bring continued flow of money into the town, and you'll have jobs for people who live here in the community. And I've got the yellow light. I would also say that housing needs to go along the same route. We need to follow a plan and quit switching at every opportunity.
Thank you. Question number 2, starting with Mr. Mendoza, is regarding Old Home Manor. Should the town develop or sell Old Home Manor, or both?
I don't believe Old Home Manor should be sold. It's an asset that the town owns. Once you sell something, it's gone. You lose that leverage. I think Old Home Manor is a beautiful place to start the plan that's kind of in my mind. I agree with Linda when I say just depending on one business to come in to support the town. No, multiple would even be better. It's more security that way. But what I'm focusing on is we need to import money here. When I send my business, my men outside of Chino Valley, I'm now bringing money in from Baghdad. I'm bringing money in from Seligman. I'm bringing money in from Camp Verde, and it's coming into town. That means it's a positive for the town. Once it's here, yes, I like to have a local coffee shop so that we can keep that money here. But it needs to be imported first.
Mr. Wojcik.
The question was, what do we think about...
Should the town develop or sell Old Home Manor, or both? That's the question.
All right, my answer is that we should develop that as part of the grand plan for the town. It calls for utilizing that area for industrial growth. And personally, I think the town ought to go out on a limb and build a couple buildings so that we're ready when interested parties and businesses come into town. We've got a place ready to lease to them. But we should definitely develop that area.
Thanks. It's not on. The council just voted to give the town manager $7,000, I believe, to investigate what we've got out there on that facility. We're not sure about what resources exist, where the sewer and water lines are. And it's going to be difficult to develop that area without money. The survey we did showed that the people did not want to pass a bond to do it. So we're going to have to find another way to do it if the community doesn't want it. Certainly it should be developed, and if you hear from Prescott and Prescott Valley officials, they wish they had that kind of land that they could develop. But the problem is trying to find a way to do it if the community doesn't want to support a bond, and I agree, people are financially strapped. We'll have to find another way to do it. And it is an opportunity, and for the first time since I've been on council, there's actually some positive movement towards that.
I don't think we should sell Old Home Manor. I think we need to keep it for future development, since 34%, according to the survey that was taken, are opposed to a bond issue to support Old Home Manor at any industrial park at this time. We do need to look for ways to finance it if that's what needs to be done, and we need to also entice new businesses to come into town, make our town, make it so that people want to be here.
We're having problems with the green light.
Okay. All right, then if we're having trouble with the green light, Pat will signal you when to begin. He'll just nod his head when to begin, all right? The next question is question 3 regarding the town center. What are your visions for a town center, Mr. Wojcik?
I'm not sure I quite understand that, but I assume they're talking like a business center. You wouldn't know, it's not your question. Anyways, well, we obviously need a center. I mean, any place that you typically go has an area that's recognized as a center of the activities for the town, like we have down there on 2 North and 89. And future growth of that type should be in that area.
Okay, I'm not quite sure what you mean by town center. If you're asking where the center of town should be, that's been a debate that's going on forever. It's going to be wherever it is. If I can dream about what the town center has, it's going to be the most attractive place around, more beautiful than either Prescott or Prescott Valley, and it's going to be a place that all businesses want to come, that will be attractive for the families of businesses, and people will want to live here. So it's got to have everything. Unfortunately, the reality is the town is short of money, and unless we can find a way to start the ball rolling, we're not going to be able to do that immediately. Town center, it's going to take one to determine where one big business is. I'm not sure we need a center of town. We may have a number of small parks and facilities around the entire town where people can go and enjoy things and sort of local, so there's not just one town center.
Town center. That has different concepts, whether it's a commercial center or a parks type center with small shops around it. However, the people are interested in what type of center they want. That would have to come from the people, and we would work with that. There again, we need to bring in money, which bring in new businesses, so we can have the income and also residential growth, because it's when people are here, they spend the money here, and then we can all join together in deciding what kind of town center we want and where it should be.
I don't know exactly what they were referring to in the question. Some time ago, there was a plan put out that had a town center drawn up at Old Home Manor. I think that whole issue, and I hope I'm answering the question. If not, oh well. I think that's pretty well scrapped. It was to try to pile everything in out at Old Home Manor. And I don't think it's wise to try to do that plan. It was mixing commercial with the sewer treatment plant, with parks. It just was a flop from the start. It was one of the old Chino Valley being the Scottsdale of the Tri-City area. That's just kind of foolish. So if that's what your question was about, I hope I answered it.
Thank you. Question number 4, beginning with Ms. Hatch, regards town infrastructure. Should the water and sewer infrastructure be expanded?
Okay. I think it's inevitable that the infrastructure will be expanded. Again, the question is where the money comes from and how it's done. It's a bit of a burden right now on the people who are on the sewer. If it expands, then the cost should go down. But I don't think that the burden on expansion should be placed on the current people who are on the sewer. It must be shared by all in order to spread the cost out. If we increase the monthly cost to those people alone in order to bring the sewer down and across 89, that isn't the right way to do it. It has to be by some kind of a bond or a major plan for everybody to go on it at once. Water is another issue. We have a lot of private wells, and I don't think those are going anywhere for a while. Buying Prescott City water, we should probably make an agreement with Prescott and get that water system, probably get the other water systems.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Should the water and sewer infrastructure be expanded?
If we wish to have people come in, businesses come in, new retail businesses come in, we need to expand the water and sewer on the 89 corridor especially. The survey that was taken, 49% of the surveys returned said that they would support a bond for water and sewer. That would be the fairest way to go. There are still negotiations that would be needed to be made, and testing and the word left me. Other things that need to be taken into consideration. But yes, I would say.
Next. Expansion of the sewer system. Right now it's operating at 60%. So as far as expanding the plant itself, that really isn't even a concern right now. We do need to get more people online to the sewer system because it is running in the negative right now. It's running in the negative to the tune of over $400,000 a year. The town is having to use their savings up in order to offset the lack of customers. Again, hopefully we can get business attracted. As we attract business, we do attract more residents. Any of us can drive around and we see a lot of vacant homes here. It'd be nice to see them homes, filled up and get this sewer system up and operating at a much more efficient and cost-effective rate.
Well, currently there's a posting of new sewer and water rates that are hopefully going to be before the council here in the next couple of weeks. Those increased rates are meant to put the sewer and water utilities on a break-even basis at least. Once we get over the hump on that, then the money becomes available to float bond issues if needed, to expand the infrastructure out into the other areas, and not only for new businesses along 89, but it also to branch it out into the other housing developments. So that's all in the near future, and actually that will be decided before any one of us take a seat on the council within the next month or so. So I believe it's a definite yes that it will go through.
Thank you. Question number 5, beginning with Ms. McGee. What are your thoughts regarding business promotion? What are your thoughts about how the town can attract new and keep existing businesses in town?
Well, there again, if we want to increase business and get new businesses to town, we need to have infrastructure, water and sewer available for them. From what I understand, there was a Denny's wanted to come in, but because there was not water and sewer, but because there was not water and sewer, they opted not to come here. A lot depends on water and sewer. So that's the problem that needs to be resolved first.
The question one more time, please.
What are your thoughts about how the town can attract new and keep existing businesses in town?
Again, we'll go back to where I left off. Once we attract the key influx of business, we don't have to worry about attracting businesses into town. I've heard many times, boy, we need a Fry's out here. Safeway is just putting it to us. Well, once the town starts growing, then Fry's is going to be knocking on our door saying, hey, where can we build a grocery store? Why? Because there's money here at that point, and they want to come in and get it. Safeway didn't come here because, Chino, let's go help them people out. They came here because there was money here. And that is the driving force of business. And again, money is a trickle-down effect. Again, from the money being made, it's going to keep the Safeways here. It's going to bring in the Fry's. It's going to bring in the Denny's. But until we actually have money, no one's coming here. But money is the attraction.
I apologize, but could you repeat that question more?
Sure. Regarding business promotion, what are your thoughts about how the town can attract new and keep existing businesses in town?
Well, obviously, we have to make it worth their while. There's several stories that I've gotten about why a Fry's grocery store won't come into town. One of them is there's no sewers, and we don't want to use a septic tank. The other one is that there's not enough rooftops in this community to make it worth our while. Another story that I'd heard was that they can't come into town because Safeway has an exclusive in town. So you begin to wonder what actually is the story here. But the truth of the matter is the only way to get them in here is to definitely put the sewer lines in, get the water lines in there. When they get ready to come in, we'll be ready for them. We have to be aggressive and do it beforehand.
Sewer seems to be a big topic. Traditionally, the town has, when a new business comes in, they pay for putting in their own sewer, and the town pays them for upsizing. They pay for it initial, and then the town gives them the money back in a sales tax rebate. So that's one way to encourage business, because as you encourage them to get more sales tax, they get paid back faster. Now, I'm going to take a little bit different tact. Again, the state is encouraging this underground broadband business, and that would be a way to attract a new form of business. Many businesses these days depend on broadband, and they're in the process. I'm on the statewide broadband committee, and they've passed laws now to bring the underground broadband. We just need investors to bring it down. More vendors to bring it down into Chino Valley. Doesn't have to be a current vendor, and they're allowed to bring it right along the highway. ADOT will trench, and that's another way to bring in new business.
Beginning with Mr. Mendoza. The question is regarding budget balancing. How would you approach balancing the budget?
I think actually, I think the council as of late has been doing a pretty good job. We've had an 18% decrease in population here. What that means is, as the state allocates money to the town, you basically just lost 18% coming from the state here. the town has cut the employee force from 125 down to 85. We have a lot of town employees that are multitasking, and we have some good people in this town that are capable of doing multi-jobs. As time goes on, that they will be able to expand as the economy turns around. But the economy is so key in the growth of the town and even just the survival of the town at this point.
Well, I relate this back to our own personal experiences. If you're running short of money and you can't pay your bills, what do you do first? You cut back somewhere on some of your expenditures, or you go out and get another job and increase your revenues. And either one of those two things are what we need to do for the town. We're already looking at an increase in sales tax that goes into effect in June of 1%. And we're looking at increased revenues from the sewer and water systems, which is increasing our revenues. What we got to do is figure out ways to be more frugal with our expenditures.
The town's required to have a balanced budget, and we always have had a balanced budget, but our reserves are getting lower and lower. And when you have to cut spending somewhere, and ultimately that will be a decision for the town manager, the finance director, and the council with their approval. The state legislature is also considering limiting the taxing authority for things like construction, which would greatly reduce some of our income as well. They would allow the state to tax these big industries, so we may be in another financial crunch that if that passes. So we're facing even more problems on it. And again, the answer is to bring in more business in some way, and that's going to mean marketing ourselves, and we've got to have something to market ourselves. That's basically the problem. We have to have a balanced budget.
We are required to have a balanced budget, just like we like to have a balanced budget at home. The town, there will be a 1% tax increase when the other tax runs out, which will generate $1 million a year towards helping to balance the budget. There are other considerations that we need to make, and we need to delve into that more deeply to figure which one works the best for our town and our people.
Thank you. We're on to question number 7 now, beginning with Mr. Wojcik, regarding sustainable development. What is your definition of sustainable development?
My definition, I believe, would be that sustainable development are things that are self-continuing within themselves. In other words, if we've got development that increases revenues, that helps keep paying the bills for all of and keeping the budget balanced.
Sustainable development can be both physical, such as using solar power to power the sewer plant, which was reduced our carbon footprint and also decreased the cost of running that sewer plant. We got those panels pretty much for free, and it's a 20-year payout. It's going to save us around $50,000 quite possibly. That's going to help the town budget. It also can be sustainable in terms of the budget. And basically what sustainable means is that you take no more out of the environment, whether it be a spending environment, than you put in. You need to keep everything balanced. And you do that in business by making sure that the businesses don't use up more physical resources or monetary resources than they bring back. You can also have a positive balance. That would be my definition.
Sustainable means something that continues. We need to make sure we have in balanced the ecological side of things to keep our reserves balanced, that we have water, that we replace water or have the means to recapture the water, revenue, water, power, everything that is contained in either residential or business, in a business setting, is what sustainable means to me.
I think just a typical life cycle, everything goes round in a circle, and you need every point within that circle to keep it going. Residential, business, all levels of business, all levels of residential, and that's all I've got on that one.
Going on to question number 8, beginning with Ms. Hatch, is a question regarding hired consultants. Under what conditions should the town hire consultants?
That's a very good question. What happens in the town generally is if someone feels they don't have the expertise or that the time is more than they can spend on it, or we don't have the resources, either time-wise for someone, we hire a consultant. My personal feeling is we need to monitor that more. When we hire a town manager, we hire him to do certain things. But what has happened is his focus has been more on bringing business into the town, so that the time element, there's only 24 hours in a day, and if you want to get all these things done, sometimes you have to hire a consultant. That is one area where we may have to look at least cutting back and place more burden on our staff and things like that. It's a very, very difficult area to consider, and there are limitations on statute as to when we can and how much we can pay and things like that. So, and I've got the yellow light, and I'll pass this on.
I believe that we should use the expertise of the people that we have hired for our town, in as much as the expertise that they have. There are times when, of course, with short timelines, we would have to hire outside. But for the most part, I think we should utilize our staff and our resources to the best of our ability.
This town has wasted a whole lot of money on lawsuits. I see a need for outside consultants quite often when you're dealing with personnel, that they can come in and evaluate a department, make a recommendation, then it is a neutral decision. So in those cases, it will save the town money when that scenario happens. Other than that, I do agree with Pat. When we can use the engineers that we have in town, why not? Let's use them.
Well, consultants are around for obvious reasons, because they are experts in particular fields, and the truth of the matter is we get more bang for our buck when we hire a consultant. A friend of mine one time was a town manager in Connecticut, related to me how when he took over the job as town manager, they had all these insurance policies for various things, and they had double coverage in some cases, triple case coverage in other cases, and in some cases no coverage. And he went down, dumped all the policies on this insurance consultant's desk and said, "What have I got?" And ended up saving the town $250,000 with better coverage. And that's a typical example of what a consultant can do for you. And I'm personally in favor, because there's a lot of people out there who really know their business and can save the town money in the long run.
Thank you. Question number 9, beginning with Ms. McGee, regards impact fees. How would you allocate existing impact fees?
Impact fees are basically designated funds that have to be used. I don't know how much closer I can get. Say, for instance, the what is termed the $90,000 dog park. Those impact fees are delegated to building parks and not for just a dog park. There's only $2,000 of that amount of $90,000 going towards the dog park. The $90,000 goes to expanding the park for the people. The money is not supposed to be used for maintaining the park, just for building the park and expanding the park facilities.
I'm going to talk about the impact fees, that whether you want to build a house or build a commercial property, you have either residential or commercial impact fees that you're charged. They're necessary right now because the town doesn't have the money to bring the sewer to a piece of property. So therefore, that's where the impact fees comes in, is when you're getting ready to build something, whether it be commercial or residential, there's a cost that you're going to bring to a town for these utilities, and that's basically what the impact fees are. And since the town can't afford to offset that right now, it's almost necessary for the builder to pay his way.
Well, to be quite honest with you, I don't know that I totally understand what impact fees are. It's my understanding that impact fees are fees that need to be used for a particular reason and for nothing else. And that's the extent of my knowledge on that subject.
I've attended several classes on impact fees, and I still don't understand how they're allocated. What I can say is that every time a new home is built, there's assessed impact fees. For a while we didn't charge impact fees, and now we've gone on certain commercial or residential homes. We've gone back to charging it. There are rules in effect. A certain percentage goes to the police department, a certain percentage goes to parks, and they must be new things. In order to use it, you can't go out and use it to improve something that's already there. The money that's being spent on the so-called dog park is reserved for parks. There would be other possible uses, but that's the plan right now, is to use those for that particular park for everyone. The rules are going to change substantially come the first of the year. There are deadlines now as to when we have to spend the old impact fees, and there are going to be changes in the way in which impact fees can be charged. They'll be substantially different, and there are deadlines as to when we can spend what we've got now.
Thank you. Question number 10, and the reason I read the question number is because it coordinates with the stuff they're looking at. Question number 10 regards the cell phone towers. What do you think about allowing towers taller than the present limit of 65 feet, beginning with Mr. Mendoza?
I've never given this a moment's thought. I suppose in a commercial area, I don't see what there would be an objection to. In residential areas, I know I've seen some steel palm trees down there in Phoenix. They're kind of obviously steel palm trees, and you discover those are cell phone towers. They do look better than a regular tower just sticking up in the air. So if we got to have them in a residential area, maybe we can build some steel pine trees or something.
It's funny that you mentioned that, Corey, because when I was living down in the valley, I had somebody come out and visit me from the East Coast, and we're driving down McDowell Road in Buckeye, and the guy says, "Oh man, look at that beautiful palm tree." I said, "That's a radio tower, you dummy." He said, "How am I supposed to know that?" But anyways, it's true that they're making these things look pretty nice nowadays, and of course the philosophy is not in my backyard. But if it's done appropriately and located appropriately, I have no objection to this. It's revenue for the town.
There's one particular vendor who has gone statewide looking to put up these tall cell phone towers, and it is a big issue across the state, and it is an issue particularly in northern Arizona as to what should govern the height. That 100-foot is something that the vendor apparently wants. We need to look into the safety issues. Certainly in a residential area, there would be cause for concern. We need to make sure that the zoning is appropriate. Our UDO is going to have to be modified in order to do that, and that kind of change needs to go through a certain legal process. And certainly the people would have a say in it, and I would want to hear from the people and their concerns. I myself would be concerned about safety. We're pretty close to an earthquake fault. I'd want to know what, if we had a large earthquake, what would happen? What if one of those fell over and it was right next to 89? In the unlikely event, there are issues to be considered in resolving that.
I think 99 or 100-foot tower is fine in an industrial area. However, I do not believe that that high of a tower is necessary in a residential area. If a builder comes in and wants to build a higher tower in whatever area they want, they need to go through the process. Our UDO now, I believe, says 65 feet, and if they can come to the council and give a good reason that it should be higher or whatever, then a CUP could be given to them, and but they surely need to go through the proper channels.
Or if your goat starts chewing on the trunk, it's a pretty good duplicate, right? Question number 11, beginning with Mr. Wojcik, is regarding the general plan. What important need does the community have that should be addressed in the general plan?
Well, I just went to a meeting a week ago on the general plan. And it looks to me like the majority of the issues, from what I know, are being addressed currently. Whether that's adequate or not, that remains to be seen. One of the heartaches I have is the fact that we went through all of this back in 2003 and have a general plan dated 2003. 10 years later, we're back doing it again, and I don't see much that's been accomplished on the 2003 plan. So are we spending or wasting our money? I don't know that. But it needs to be looked into, I believe.
Okay, the statute requires us every so many years to do a new general plan. And the areas that are addressed in a general plan are governed by your population. A larger city of, say, 100,000 has much more requirements than a smaller town like Chino Valley. Some of the most important areas, and we have a group from the public certainly going through that now. Some of the important areas that would be of concern to the public here would be land use. Transportation is a big issue that's been addressed, whether or not we should continue with a bus system. That seems to be important. How that will look, if we'll have community parks, and it's an opportunity to make long-range plans. How that will affect, sewer, water, things like that, infrastructure. All those issues come up, and they're addressed based on population. Our group has some pretty good ideas.
Yeah, I have to agree with Ms. Hatch on the land use and the transportation, et cetera, that's being, because of population increase, there other things have to be considered as well.
I think if I were to be on the council, what I'd like to see with the general plan is a little more flexibility. Obviously, saying this is our path and there's, this is it, set in stone. I don't think anyone realized the devastation of this economy was going to last this long and go as deep as it was. So we need to have some contingencies in there and not be quite as stringent on a plan, But naturally, it's good to have a good direction, and go for it.
Thank you. The next question, question 12, beginning with Ms. Hatch, is regarding the candidates and their constituents. How would you keep in touch with your constituents?
I visit meetings. I go to clubs. I take phone calls all the time, 7 days a week from constituents. I hear from businesses. I accept emails. I meet with them in groups, both business owners and individuals. My door is always open, and there's a phone number that's there with the town, and all of us have email addresses. And I had a workshop at one time on the sewer system, and Mr. Gripman attended and spoke with people. Be happy to have meetings with groups or continue in the way I'm continuing. My door is always open, and I'm always available.
I definitely encourage people to talk with me and ask me questions and discuss their problems or concerns. I have an email address. I have my phone number. And I had talked with Ms. Watts quite a while ago about having meetings around town, different places, in just little group meetings, maybe half a dozen people, but just for educating people on what's coming up and any questions and concerns to, bless you, to bring forth any issues and concerns that they have and ask any questions of me that they would need to, and I would respond to them as quickly as I could.
I think having the open door policy, like Linda said, is great. I don't really know how to communicate out with the majority of the town. I think you folks are obviously not the norm. You're concerned about the town, but I couldn't take a head count. But you're just a fraction. And I'm as guilty of this as anyone. I just recently, in the last couple of years, became more involved with my town. Been busy working, raising a family, but I think just plain having the open door. I like having the Chino review at the council meetings, and take time to talk to the reporter and get the word out the best that we can. Because let's face it, we have a little bit of a patent place here in Chino Valley where rumors just fly when you get the truth out.
Well, like my slogan, the campaign slogan says, I'm running for you, meaning that I'm hoping that you people will elect me to the council to be your spokesperson and to reflect your ideas and ideals in voting on various issues. As I said in the newspaper article that was out here a couple weeks ago, my phone will always be open. I welcome your calls, particularly when there are critical issues coming before the council, so that I know how you people feel about issues. And not in all cases, but in a lot of cases, we can do what you'd like to do. But we need to get the citizens involved. I go to the council meetings, there's nobody there, no citizens. I mean, it's all council people. We need to get involved, and you all need to let us know what you want.
Thank you. A comment from the League of Women Voters. This Chino Valley community group has always been among the most in number that come out to events like this. So you all should feel proud of yourself. Next time, grab a neighbor. All right, question 13, beginning with Ms. McKee, regards the regional Peavine Trail. Would you favor completing the regional Peavine Trail through Chino Valley?
Unfortunately, I'm unfamiliar with that, and cannot answer at this time.
As long as it doesn't cost any money, sure. That's just not, in my opinion, very high on the priority list. If it's something that some of the local walking clubs want to donate, I'm all for it.
Well, I live about 50 yards from the Peavine Trail, and I don't see much happening up there. And I certainly think we can find better use of our money, the little bit of money that we do have.
I'm not quite sure what the question is addressing. The Peavine Trail is accessible, at least in the town, to the community to use as it is. Completing it, making it nice and everything, and put some amenities, maybe a place to stop and buy hot dogs or something would be nice in the future. One of our attractions to attract business as we grow and become better than Prescott and Prescott Valley, and everybody wants to live here. There is a road that is contemplated to come along part of the Peavine Trail, I believe, eventually here. So certainly if we have the money or somebody else wants to do it and improve what we've got and end up connecting it all together, sure, I would support it. But again, I think it's pretty well used. Well, it's used now. It's not well used. Depends on the time of year. But it's available.
Thank you. Going on now to question 14. It's about keeping young people in your community. And I think this problem faces many communities. What can the council do to help keep the youth in our community?
I think the skate park, the ball fields, things of this sort have all been great opportunities to keep the kids occupied here. Keeping them here professionally once they finish high school, it's tough. I grew up in Prescott. I graduated in 1980 in Prescott High School, and I went to California and worked in the shipyards, and then I worked highway construction after that. It wasn't until there was a business opportunity that I saw here that my wife and I started our business. Luckily, my daughter and son-in-law both have been able to land jobs here, both professionals. But it's going to take that complete circle of opportunity to where you have higher tech jobs that they can go off to college, get educated, and be able to come home.
I'm not sure there's much you can do to keep, I assume when we're saying young people, we're talking people that have just gotten out of high school. Once they're out of high school, they got all these grandiose ideas of what they want to do when they get big. And it's pretty difficult to keep people like that around a small town like this. Now, big cities, there's so much variety. But in a small town like this, most of them are probably going to leave, but that's not to say that in 5 years they won't be back again.
The light's on again. As a Californian with all the opportunities in the world, and I went off to explore the world with the Peace Corps and volunteered and did my service. Came back and went to work in California eventually and stayed there for 20 years and retired and came here. The opportunities we need to offer, I think the independent entrepreneur idea, smaller businesses, more opportunities that we offer, the more likely it is that people will come back. Keeping them here, I would suspect that, like many of us, they'd like to go off and join the military or join the Peace Corps or try other areas. But if we offer opportunities, and increasing the kinds of business and places for them to go and enjoy and meet others, It'll grow on its own.
Well, one of the things, as the kids are getting older in high school, they have technical classes that we could partner with the kids, have them come and partner with the council and work together on different projects and with town offices. One of the things I thought of the other night, I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning thinking of these things, that there's a culinary class at the high school that I was thinking could possibly somehow partner with the senior center in working with lunches, maybe a salad a month or a dessert a month or something of that nature. I think the more time and opportunities we have for kids in the pools and the ballparks, etc., that will keep them home until they go off to college. But they do have to have a reason to come back, and that would be jobs.
Question number 15, starting with Mr. Wojcik. How do you like that? I got that better this time.
You're getting better with age.
Regarding business appearance, how could the appearances on Highway 89 businesses be improved?
That's a good question. I'm not sure I know the answer. Obviously, when was the town founded? 72? 70. Okay, 70. So what is that? That's 43 years. Wow. Nobody figured it out yet. So I'm not sure I have the answer.
And that's generally done with increasing the standards in your uniform development ordinance, and, for instance, requiring more landscaping, or as a new business, as a new building comes in, requiring higher standards. I sat in on a hearing with a business here in town who bought a new parcel a couple of years ago and was moving a business to that parcel. And, I was just talking to someone here in the audience, and the problem was that individual right away asked that some of those standards be relaxed so he could be more competitive. It's a catch-22. Everyone has to buy in to the fact that you want to upgrade the look of the community and be willing to put some money into it. But if your idea is you've got to make more profit to remain in business, it gets very difficult to do that. All we can do is continue to increase the standards in the UDO.
Increasing the standards in the UDO is one thing, but people have to be of the mindset to have their property looking, just like with our residential homes. We like to have our homes looking nice, the outside, the yards mowed, etc., not have weeds and things in the yard. And that's kind of where it is.
Okay, I'm going to get set aside here a little bit. I am absolutely against increasing UDOs. I really don't want the government telling me, how I have to do, this and that. I do believe that a minimal is required, a standard. But other than that, capitalism is what will take care of the problem. Do you want to stop at the restaurant that has a cobbly driveway and you twist your ankle walking into the place? Or if there's a restaurant next door that has a nice paved parking lot, it's your choice. Well, when the guy with the cobbly parking lot sees everybody going next door, guess what? He is probably going to pave his parking lot. He's going to paint it. He's going to make it appealing. So let capitalism take care of this and not the government.
Thank you. Our final question for the evening involves sales tax, beginning with Ms. Hatch. What steps would you take towards capping the increases in the town sales tax?
I brought this question up at the council meeting, that once our debt was more or less at a reasonable measure, I wanted to suggest that we put a a stopgap measure in the new ordinance that cut it off or reduced it once we paid a certain percentage of the debt. Also, should in the the property tax issue has come up again and again. It's been suggested again that we bring it up to the public. I also suggested that there be a measure to lower that sales tax once should we bring in a property tax. So far, a limit. I've not been successful in getting the council to accept the idea of setting a limit, a point at which that sales tax should fall away.
The sales tax is there, and would probably be a good idea to have, as Ms. Hatch said, a stopgap measure on it, that when finances got to the point where we're very self-sufficient, we have a very, very healthy budget, that we could reduce the sales tax, especially if there was a property tax acting at the time.
I'm sure there isn't a council member presently that hasn't had disgruntled people come up to them and give them the what for over the sales tax. Right now, I agree with the council. It's something that was a necessity at the moment. Property taxes are not an overnight deal. Unfortunately, the town is going to be broke here in another year. So some things had to be done right now to stop the bleeding. Again, I pass off to the council for making the hard decisions, and I hope to be on board with them and keep this going in the right direction. And again, I'm going back to business. Business is the key of getting us out of this problem. Once we have the revenue, again, coming into town, that additional sales tax can, be taken away.
Well, just to set the record straight, I assume that most people here know that the 1% state, I think it's a food tax, that expires in June is going to be replaced by the 1% increase in sales tax that would go in the town's pocket. So there really is not an overall increase in the tax rate. We're backfilling in and taking the place of what was a state tax. But, it's a real problem because we need income and we need to do what we need to do to keep the town afloat. I mean, it's just that simple. Otherwise, sooner or later, we're closing the doors and going home.
Thank you, candidates. It is a little early, and as the closing comments, the closing statements for the candidates, we had originally done the 1-minute closing statement. I'd invite the candidates, if you want to take longer than 1 minute, up to 2 minutes in your closing statement. Please go ahead and do that, beginning with Mr. Wojcik.
The first shall go last, or the last, whatever. Is this turned down?
I know it's.
Hello. Yeah, it's on. Closing statements. I again want to say thanks to all of you for coming and getting involved and listening to the various candidates' opinions and stands on the various subjects. I look forward to representing y'all. I seriously, when I get elected, I want y'all to be on my phone driving me crazy. Somebody asked me today, he said, I'm driving down the road, we got big potholes. Well, who should I call? I said, sounds like a road department problem. And if you call, you'll probably have the pothole fixed within a day or so. I don't know if Ron Gritman agrees with that or not, but anyways, seriously, I would be honored to represent y'all on the council for the next 4 years. Thank you.
This, where the open seats are right now are here because Councilman Eckel and Councilman Tenney are kind of leaving this void. And and Linda Hatch is rerunning for her same spot. I think I would fit in well with the direction that this council is going. And that direction is we've got to get our house in order. And again, business, attracting business to Chino Valley is, in my opinion, the key to getting this full circle going. What I want to leave you with, though, is I don't want Chino Valley to be an industrial mecca. I'd really like to find a balance of industrial that brings in an amount of money that we can maintain the residential lifestyle that we have here in Chino. My wife and I have traveled a lot, and we cross the country and back, and this is always home for us when we come back here. But unfortunately, it has some financial issues. So we've got to do what we've got to do. And do I want more traffic from additional commercial? Of course not. Probably most of us don't. But if we want to just sustain the lifestyle that we like, and it's nice seeing horses and wild burros, from the rescue thing, right in our town limits. The 4-H that we have here, these are all quality of life issues, and I want to keep this. But we got to take the good with the bad. We need the business, and I think we can have it all.
My parents taught me to give back to my community, and I've done that in wherever I've lived. I believe here that there need to be more women on the council. Bringing a common sense approach to the aspect of council business by looking at past mistakes and endeavor not to repeat them, by knowing where we are today, and by working towards a successful future for Chino Valley, I would like to be part of that solution. Budget, new business, residential growth all need to be balanced. I believe in Chino Valley's survivability for today's citizens and future generations as well. We all need to be involved at some level. I would challenge everybody to participate in council and committee meetings which are open to the public. Talk to town administrators. Really, they won't bite. Do a little research. How better to learn about what concerns all of us? Be well informed. Join me in being part of the solution. There are 3 vacancies on the Chino Valley Town Council. Whether or not you vote for me, please exercise your right to vote and vote for 3. Thank you for coming out this evening.
I'm the one person who decided to run again for town council. It's been my pleasure to represent members of this town for the last almost 4 years. At times it's been very, very difficult. Each person, each homeowner, each ranchette, each ranch, each individual in this community has their idea of what they want to make this community become. Sometimes the goals of one property owner conflict with the other. And unfortunately, it's the town, fortunately and unfortunately, it's the town council which ultimately probably has to make that decision. But such decisions can't be made without the participation of the public, and we need that participation to continue. And again, I thank you for coming tonight. One of the things that we must be very careful of, and that is we must not fall into a trap of rubber stamping what one mayor, what one town manager does. Support, yes, but it's the diversification of this community that makes the difference. You need to hear new ideas. You need to have people speak out. You need to have a council meeting where there is exchange of ideas. I have always listened to the people. I have always raised the questions. If you watch the meetings on TV, I'm sure you've seen me ask those probing questions. We need that. We need not to just rush through a council meeting and rubber stamp whatever is presented before us. We need to carefully consider everything that's put in front of us. We're never going to have new ideas if we just go down the old path. And we need those new ideas to improve this community. Again, I would ask that you vote for me. I have a record of representing the people of this town. working with the people of this town, and that would be my continued goal. And again, thank you for coming.
I'm going to try this mic because that mic is growling at me. That concludes our candidate forum. I want to thank all the candidates for coming, for their time, for their answers. You've heard me say this before, but needs repeating. This evening's forum is what citizen participation is all about. It's about educating ourselves about the issues, about what these candidates think. It's about examining the important differences between the candidates. And most important, it's what good government is all about. And you people who got out of your homes and came out on this cold winter evening, you're responsible for good government. In closing, thank you to the Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce, and especially to the League of Women Voter Volunteers also that have been back there all evening. And a special thanks to Mr. Flexible, Pat O'Hara, with the green light going out and these kinds of things. Good night from all of us, and let's collectively make this the largest voter turnout that Chino Valley has ever seen. Thank you.